G'day everyone, welcome to an Oz Cyclone Chasers Cyclone video update for the nation today, the 11th of December 2014. Our update today is sponsored by Campbell Scientific Australia, when measurements matter. Folks, in the interest of disclosure tonight, most of the update will be on Queensland. However, the first couple of minutes, we're just going to talk briefly about the other parts of the nation and any cyclone potential, but the rest of the update will be about Queensland. Currently, we have one cyclone active worldwide. That's Tropical Cyclone Hagapit, not a very strong system anymore. And in fact, it's probably an ex-cyclone now. Over to the southern Indian Ocean, we are watching this area here to the west of Java. It is developing and it should develop further over the coming few days. At this stage, it looks like it'll remain just outside of our Aussie region. So Tropical Cyclone Kate could be named by Australia, or we could have a name from the Frenchies on this particular system. Now we can see that the Bureau is giving it a moderate chance of development, and that's what the computer models show us, about a 50% chance of developing into a TC in the next couple of days, and then by about Sunday or Monday the system is then outside of our area of responsibility. So if it develops south of about 10 south, it will, and east of 10, east of 90 east, it will be named Tropical Cyclone Kate. If it isn't, then the Frenchies will name it something else. All the track model forecast guidance we have on this system has very similar track forecasts away from Australia, so not going to impact Australia in any way. This one's got it pushing west. This is the GFS, the UK, and the NavGem. If we take a look at the rainfall totals in the past week, we've seen some significant rainfalls redevelop over here in the North Kimberley. We mentioned this in our last update on Monday night. We'd said that the moisture would return to this region, and we've even seen some pretty good thunderstorms around Broome and Derby as well, so getting into some of those populated regions, so that's fantastic to see. Over the Northern Territory, we've continued to see the build-up over most of this region. We have started to see, just recently, a little bit of dry air creeping into the south, and so the storms are now, from now on, probably going to be isolated more to the northern half. Big news, obviously, is the Queensland. A lot of places in Queensland have received 25 millimetres plus, and there's going to be a fair bit of rain to come for Queensland. Taking a look at the surface level chart, and we can see the issue and the cause of all this activity is this trough system, and this trough system is being given upper level support now, and so we have an upper level trough that has also compounded the instability, and that upper level trough is strongest over the Queensland area, and that upper level trough and surface trough will move fairly quickly now to the east over the next 24 to 48 hours. And in behind it will be some fairly dry air for a few days, and then we go back to storms again later on in the week for most of the state. Most of the dry air that actually creeps into Queensland, though, is quite hot dry air rather than cold dry air. So expect temperatures to soar if you're on the coast as those southwesterly winds overpower the sea breeze once that change pushes through, particularly in northern Queensland. As we mentioned, that trough system will move to the north, so we're going to see a push of that trough to the north and the northeast. So it'll cross the coast over tomorrow in the southeast corner, and then continue pushing offshore over the central and northern Queensland coastlines. At this stage, it looks like Cairns will be the cutoff of the significant weather from this particular system, with some very significant weather over central Queensland, Hervey Bay. So let's talk about the rainfall to come for the other two states first, and then we'll get into Queensland. Unfortunately for our folks in WA, the activity that you're seeing, particularly on that Kimberley coastline, it's probably got only one day to go. Probably tomorrow we're going to see a continuation of activity, probably not as widespread as it is today, and then as we head to Saturday, we start to see less and less activity as the moisture pushes further to the north and east away from the coastline. So that's the next few days for the northwest WA region. There is also a chance of a sneaky shower or storm in the inland Pilbara. Similar drying out phase across the Northern Territory too. We can see today's rainfall, storms everywhere. Tomorrow's rainfall, storms everywhere north of Tennant Creek. Then on Saturday, we see that clearance going through probably north of VRD. And then on Sunday, we see a lot of the activity on the coastline, potentially some severe activity here as we get a bit of dry air pushing into the region, and we've got a lot more collision there between the dry and moist air along that trough line. So certainly on the Saturday, Sunday, chance for some severe activity. And by Monday, we actually see too much dry air pushing in, so we actually see storms still potentially severe, but quite isolated. D-Day tomorrow, folks, for Queensland. You can see showers, storms, rain everywhere, all through the state, anywhere sort of east of a line from Winton, Longreach, or Quilpie, Longreach, Winton, and out towards Burketown. Anywhere in a line east of that, you're going to see showers, storms. Obviously, the more extensive activity and the strongest activity will be down around the southern parts of the central Queensland region and possibly the Hervey Bay area. As we head further to the south, that change starts to push through probably a little earlier than models predicted. So the Brisbane, Toowoomba region, probably not expecting the crazy rainfall that they were initially expecting. That rainfall max has now pushed further to the north on most model guidance. Now, in saying that the trough clears a little earlier than initially forecast, it doesn't clear all the way through the state. And so on Saturday, we actually see significant potential for continuation of storm activity near the coast and further to the inland as a low pressure system does develop. We're going to see the potential on Friday and Saturday for some very severe thunderstorms. We'll go through the storm potential shortly. And over the northern inland parts of Queensland, there's enough residual moisture there and instability with the trough pushing north and east to create extensive shower and storm activity for that region. On Sunday, however, we see a dry change pushing right over the state, and only the far northern parts of Queensland expecting to see continuation of showers and storms. There might be just enough moisture in the very, very low levels of the atmosphere to create some light showers along the coastline, but in terms of deep convective activity, none expected on Sunday if you live south of about Cooktown to Kowanyama. On Monday, the state is fairly dry. Now, that dry air pushes all the way to the north, right up to the northern peninsula. And once again, in this wet tropics coastline, there might just be enough low-level moisture to create some isolated showers, probably along the ranges. Across the nation, we've gone through the next 4 days. Let's have a look at the 4 days after that. We see a new trough system developing over inland parts of Australia. More showers and storms, particularly interesting here for the Central Northern Territory. Continuation of unseasonal activity, if you like. The amount of rainfall here is quite phenomenal that's falling from these things. And I dare say that when we go to the end of the month, we're going to see some really big patches of blue right where they're needed too. This area here in the Eastern Northern Territory really struggling for rain. That extends into northwest Queensland, into northern inland Queensland and central inland Queensland, continuing to see shower and storm activity. Not as widespread as the crazy stuff we're going to see tomorrow, but certainly useful nonetheless. Over the, one thing to also note, the north coast of the Northern Territory, looking at a particularly fairly dry period and only isolated activity unless you live in the northwestern top end, in which case you're going to see those daily showers and storms. I want to compare for the Queensland. We're talking about Queensland here for the rest of this update. It'll probably go for another 5 minutes or so, folks, so bear with me. I want to talk about, firstly, the upper level winds here. These are today's upper level winds, and you can see all the upper level strong winds are located well south here, right along the southern border of Queensland. But other than that, they're very, very light across the state. Now, let's fast forward to tomorrow afternoon for you, just to see one of the factors that's going to increase the potential for severe activity. And here they are for tomorrow afternoon, and you can see significant increase in wind strengths and heading into central Queensland as well. So we're going to see significant potential, particularly on the eastern edge of that strongest wind. That's generally where we see the greatest severe potential. So this region here along the northern goldfields, upper Flinders, central highlands and coalfields, certainly looking at some very severe activity possible tomorrow. Less severe down towards the southeast corner. That change looks like it's pushed through by tomorrow afternoon, and so we're looking more at some significant severe potential further north in the central Queensland coast. The big thing to note also is because of these upper level winds, these storms will push towards the coast and will make the coast. One of the reasons why they haven't been making the coast are those very, very weak winds I just showed you in the first chart. Next thing I want to compare for you between today and tomorrow afternoon is the sweat index. The sweat index shows us the potential for severe weather. If we get into these purples, we got some issues. And so at the moment we're in the dark reds, which means that it could be severe, they might not be severe. Once we get into the purples, we got problems. So 10 p.m. tonight, we're starting to see a little bit of purple developing. But as we fast forward to 4 p.m. tomorrow, we start to see a big lot of purple here, and we are talking some severe, really severe activity possible right along that edge of that dry and moist air out here between Longreach and Emerald, and then extending north into the northern goldfields and upper Flinders. You can see values getting up to about 300. Then as we head towards tomorrow night, and we can see once again these purple values in the northern goldfields and upper Flinders getting into the central highlands and coalfields. Now remember folks, this is severe weather threat index at the moment, at that time, in that spot. Now remember, the storms do move. So just because this purple is here, the fact is that the severe storm might develop here, but remember those upper level winds are very, very strong and will push the storms towards the coastlines. So even though the severe potential is here, be aware that if you're east of that severe potential, or northeast or southeast of that severe potential, you are certainly in with a chance at copping it. The chance for supercells tomorrow. Supercells are the things that have a bit of rotation about them, so they're storms with a bit of rotation. Now these things are bad news if you happen to be under them. Great news if you're a storm chaser. Bad news if you happen to be under them, because they tend to produce a lot of hail, a lot of wind, heaps of rain, and the odd tornado or two. So this is what we need to watch, these areas of extensive potential for supercell development. Now this is tomorrow afternoon. This is tomorrow evening. And this is tomorrow night. So we can see here a better than 50% chance of severe thunderstorm activity or supercell activity occurring in this region. That's not good news, especially if we couple that with the severe weather threat index and the final measure of instability here, the total totals index of anything over 50 here, we're looking at severe potential. So we've got extensive areas over 50 tomorrow night. So if we take a look at the overnight rainfall, we've got significant rain here along the central Queensland or southern into the central Queensland region. And you can see here as we head to 1 a.m. Into 4 a.m. we've got potentially some flash flooding type falls here happening very early tomorrow morning from thunderstorm activity that's currently occurring in the region. And then as we head towards tomorrow morning at about 10 a.m. we see fairly early firing up here along the coastline, and then things just get even more intense as we head into the early afternoon. You can see big line of storms developing right along the coastal ranges, probably about 3 lines actually right along the coastal ranges, about 100 or 200 k's west of that, and then another one further inland. And these are the ones that we're worried about. These ones here that develop late on Friday, these ones have that very, very severe potential about them, folks. Certainly if you happen to be under one and the BOM has issued a warning for these, take the warning seriously. These are going to be significant thunderstorms. And then as we head towards Friday night, we can see those storms pushing further and north up the coast. Bit of a clearance here in the southeast corner. And then as we head to overnight Friday, you can see some really heavy thunderstorm activity making it to the Herbert Lower Burdekin and also Central Coast and Whitsundays region, and also some residual thunderstorm activity still trying to get itself going overnight tomorrow and into Saturday morning. And you can see Saturday morning 4 a.m. and then Saturday morning 7 a.m. we still see continued activity. So the clearance isn't very fast across the coastline, even though the trough system itself pushes eastwards here in the southern parts of Queensland very quickly. It lingers back across northern Queensland, and so continuation of the potential for shower and storm activity into Saturday morning and even into Saturday early afternoon. And you can see here the precipitation values as we head into Saturday afternoon. Once again, severe potential likely on the Saturday afternoon, but the activity on Saturday afternoon will be much more isolated than the crazy amount of activity tomorrow. All right, folks. That's a pretty in-depth update for normally what I'd put out for the public, and if you're in Queensland, I'll be putting out an even more in-depth update for our subscribers tomorrow morning very, very early once the latest model runs come out. So there's still a little bit of shuffle or wiggle room on the computer models tonight. Tomorrow morning we'll know very, very clearly where those really severe storms are going to be, and for subscribers you'll know that once we update our video. Thanks for watching tonight, folks. If for information, if you do want to be a subscriber, it's at ozcyclonechasers.com.au, and by subscribing, you actually help us document more cyclones and get better weather information. Thank you for watching. Stay safe in those storms, and we'll talk again on Monday night.